Hello everyone. This lecture is based on the subject design, planning and control of production system. This subject is open elective for third year BE student in MBM Engineering College, Jodhpur. This subject has 5 units: production planning, scheduling, inventory systems, project planning and control, and supply chain management. Today we will be covering the first unit, production planning, and in coming lectures we will be covering other topics, remaining units of this subject. So ultimately in a series of lecture we will be covering all topics where a student will be able to understand the concepts, formulas, they will be able to solve the numericals, they can understand the various case study that are useful in clearing these topics. And to cover this subject and to make these topics clear, I would recommend students to refer the standard books available in the market for industrial engineering, production planning and control, and for production and operation management. List is given on the screen. You can note down the books, and these are very good books which will have the details of each topic. That detail cannot be covered in a lecture, but for reference these good books are very good. Let us start this lecture. This lecture is based on the first unit of the subject, production planning, and once we complete this lecture, the student will be able to learn understand the concept of planning horizons, product exploring, difference between product and service. Then they will be able to know how to make decision to buying or making a product. So you need to decide as an industrialist which product you need to make and which product you need to buy. So there are several concepts, several procedures, several methods to decide. So we will come to know various methods available for this. So let us begin with the definition of production planning. Production planning is a process used by manufacturing companies to optimize the efficiency of their processes. Now to optimize the efficiency, we can get using effective utilization of limited resources and satisfying the customer demands, and by creating a profit for investors. So if we do proper production planning, that will help us to get maximum profit, that will help us to satisfy the customers, and that will effectively utilize our limited resources. So it is very useful technique, policy for the industrialists, the business persons. Resources include the production facilities, labor and materials, while constraints include availability of resources, delivery times for products, and management policy. The main function of production planning are forecasting, aggregate planning, materials requirement planning, and sequencing and scheduling. So these are the main function of production planning, and we'll briefly discuss all these functions in this lecture. Forecasting basically predicts the demand for planning purposes. So using forecasting, you can predict the future demand of any product, and accordingly you can decide on your production planning, your inventory, your manpower, workforce, what are the different costs involved in this. So you can easily decide on what kind of arrangement you need to make to produce such number of products. Next is aggregate planning, which ultimately generates a long-term production plan that establishes a rough product mix, anticipates bottlenecks, and is consistent with capacity and workforce plans. So aggregate planning considers capacity and workforce for a particular industry, and it decides which product mix you need to produce, what are the probable bottlenecks we come across. So accordingly we decide on several points to make production planning. Third one is materials requirement planning. It determines all purchase and production components needed to satisfy the aggregate plan. Next is sequencing and scheduling. Develop a plan to guide the release of work into the system and coordination with needed resources. So all these functions are very important to make a efficient and fruitful production plan. Next we will try to understand planning horizon. It is very important for any industrialist to know about different types of planning. So depending on the time of the process, we differentiate planning horizon in three categories: long range, intermediate range, and short range, which are also known as strategic planning, tactical planning, and operation planning. As you can see on the screen, strategic planning and which is also a long range planning, is basically is for top level management, because in this planning they decide on the technology forecasting, and they decide which kind of product they need to use for that purpose, what kind of technology, how much workforce, how much fund is required. So all these details the top level management only discusses, and accordingly they design the production plan, they make the activity plan, and accordingly they instruct the middle level and junior level management to go for production. Next is tactical planning, intermediate range. It is between long range and short range. Middle level management handles this. And last one is the operational planning, short range planning, which is handled by junior level management. They are basically utilizing the existing facility rather than creation of new facility. So they don't plan for the new facility, new technology, new manpower. They only follow the instructions given by the top management and middle management to utilize the existing facility and to do the production, to complete the production task. So this gives you the overview of production operations planning activity, where the process planning and strategic capacity planning comes with the long range planning, while the medium range planning completes the forecasting and demand management. Sales and operation persons are involved in this. They make sales plan and aggregate plans, then they do master scheduling, and then they prepare material requirement planning. While the short range plans, we have ordinary scheduling, where they just follow the instruction given by the top and intermediate level management. This screen shows the product and service differences. So basic difference between product and service is, once you go to the market and purchase a product, you can simply purchase it, you can consume it. But once you go to any service area like a hospital or for any marketplace or bank, then you get a service over there. You don't get any particular product over there, but they serve you. So this is the basic difference between product and service. So example of product is any product like fruit, your chair, table, and your AC, fan, and all these are products, while once the banking and the hospitals are the example of services. So basic difference between product and service are, products are concrete while services are activity or process. Products are tangible while services are intangible. Products are homogeneous while services are heterogeneous. Important point here is that production and distribution is separated from consumption in products. So production, in case of products, they are produced and distributed somewhere else, and they are consumed somewhere else, while in case of service, the production, distribution, consumption simultaneously takes place at a particular place. And again, that product can be stored, but services cannot be stored. Then again, the important point, ownership. That ownership of a product shifts from manufacturer to dealer to the customer. So ultimately customer is the main last or ultimate owner of the product, while in case of services, customer can have access to service but cannot own it. So this is the difference between product and services. Next comes the product exploring. We need to decide whether we need to make or buy a product. So the decision on making or buying a product depends on the volume, how much volume we need to have in our industry, fixed cost of making per unit, direct cost when making, per unit cost when buying. So fixed cost plus making cost, buying cost, and the volume for how many number of products we need to produce at the end of the year, that depends, that decides our decision on making or buying, whether we need to make a product or we need to buy a product. So reason for making are very common, while the most important is the cost concerns, because sometimes making a product is cheaper than purchasing it. So you may have desire to expand the manufacturing focus. So you just go through all these reasons. They are very common reasons, and we can establish these reasons as a step to move forward for making a product. So if your volume is too small, that you cannot get a supplier, that is one of the reason. Lack of competitor supply is one of the reason. Suppliers unreliability is again a reason. To maintain a backup source, again a reason. So there are several reasons, those are shown on the screen right now, that motivates you to make a product. While few of the reasons are shown on the screen now, those reasons motivate you to buy a product rather than making it. So if you have lack of technical experience, if your cost consideration, if you need a small volume of product, then you should not go to making a product, you simply buy from the market. You may have preferences for brand also. These are the few reasons which is responsible for deciding on buying a product. So once we have idea and we have clarity on whether making or buying a product, then we can make a decision based on this process. So the make or buy decision process has four steps: preparation, data collection, data analysis, and feedback. In preparation step, we identify the product requirement and analysis. We form team, they think over it, they decide which are the factors important for a product. Then we collect the data, where the collecting information on various aspects of making or buying decision. So we do have workshops on weighting, rating, and all. So we do all data collection to establish a connection between our requirement and the procedure. Then we do analysis on those data, and then we get the feedback. So on after going through this process, we can reach to certain decision whether we need to make a product or buying a product. So there are several approaches for making or buy decisions. So these are the three approaches, methods, which helps you in deciding whether to make or buy a product: simple cost analysis, economic analysis, and break-even analysis. Simple cost analysis is very simple in the sense that it normally compares the cost and the benefits we get from a particular product. So if we go for a particular product and production of that product for year long, then you simply check the cost and you simply check the benefits we are getting in terms of profit. So if you are getting good profit on your invested cost, then it is a good exercise. So you can choose among various options which option is better when you get more profit for your cost you invest to produce a particular product. So it is simple in this sense, is simply compare the cost with the benefit. Next comes the economic analysis and break-even analysis. We will discuss briefly in this lecture. So economic analysis to decide on making or buying a product depends upon two inventory model. One is purchase model, it is for economic order quantity, and one is our manufacturing model, that is for economic production quantity. That means in first model we decide on the optimum quality we need to purchase, and in second model we decide on the optimum quantity we need to produce to get maximum profit in our business. So important equation for EOQ model is the total cost, which depends on total annual cost, annual demand, quantity, annual holding cost, and ordering cost. So one cost is your order cost. Once you order a product, that is your ordering cost. One is your holding cost. Another one is the annual demand, which is required. So all these parameter is important to decide on the total cost. So one among various options, if you have different product range, a mix of product, and you need to decide which product you should go for, then you can compare the total cost of all the products and the optimum quantity we are getting throughout the year, and whether they are fulfilling the annual demand or not. You can decide upon this using this data. Using this equation, we can calculate the total cost in EOQ model. So total cost in this case is annual ordering cost plus annual cost. As shown in the figure, the total cost is the sum of ordering cost and holding cost. So you can see that ordering cost, once you increase the order quantity, ordering cost will be less, because if you purchase product in good numbers, they will give you discount. So if your order quantity is very large, that ordering cost gets reduced. Then the holding cost, if your order quantity, if you are purchasing in a good number, then holding cost will be larger. So there is a relation between holding cost and ordering cost. So the total cost you pay is the annual ordering cost and the holding cost. So you order the product, then you hold that product, so that makes the total cost in case of EOQ model. So then comes the economic order quantity, the particular quantity, the optimum quantity you need to order to get maximum benefit. To keep the total, you can see from the diagram, the total cost is minimum, where we have a line for EOQ. So EOQ is the point or the quantity of the order that keeps the total cost minimum. So the economic order quantity you can achieve by minimizing the total cost, and the formula by iteration gets this under root 2 ds by h. One is ordering cost, one is annual demand, one is holding cost. So we'll see this by an example where you can use reorder point. Reorder point is the point, the minimum quantity of products when you need to order again. So your products, number of products get reduced by the time, and if you want to reorder certain product, you need to have check on this, how many products reach to certain limit, then you reorder. So suppose you have 1000 products in the beginning, and when then those number of products goes down to 50 or 100 out of 1000. So in beginning it was 1000, and if it is go down to 50 or 100, then you should reorder, so that at the time when the product reduces consumed completely, you would have another lot of products. So we need to reorder the product at a certain point, and that decide by the reorder point, that is the multiplication of demand multiplied by lead time. So again, if you need to keep a safety stock, you should add that safety stock to your reorder point. So at least a certain amount of certain number of products you should have, then you can reorder. So we will see by example. So here the example is for weekly demand 240 units, number of weeks per year is 52, ordering cost is rupees 50, unit cost is rupees 15, annual carrying cost charge is 20%, and lead time is 2 weeks. So we need to find the total cost, economic order quantity, and reorder points. Let us see how we do this. So annual demand is nothing but the number of weeks multiplied by the products required in a week. So it is 12,480 units per year, you can see in the screen. Then comes the holding cost, that is 20% of the unit cost. Then we calculate the quantity, then using that quantity we get the total cost, and then you can get the reorder point. That means up to which units once you reach to you go down to certain number of units, you should reorder the product. So 480 is the units. If you start with 1000 or 10,000, 12,000, and then once you reach down to 480, you should reorder. So this is how you can calculate the optimum quantity. Means this quantity is 645 as shown in the this problem is the minimum quantity you should order, that will cost you minimum. This total cost is minimum in all these exercise. Next comes the EPQ equation. It is the second model of economic analysis, where we go for economic production quantity. So we decide on the number of products we need to produce that will make the total cost minimum. In that case, the total cost is given by this equation. Minimum inventory we should have is given by the second equation, and the economic production quantity is given by the third equation. So now we have one more example to get clear this EPQ equation. So here in this case we have annual demand 18,000 units, production rate is 2500 units per month, setup cost is rupees 800, annual holding cost is rupees 18 per unit, lead time is 5 days, and number of operating days per month. So using these data we will try to calculate the economic production quantity we need to produce, and the total cost according to that quantity we need to calculate. So it will calculate the total demand per month and total production per month, that is P. Then we calculate using D and P, we calculate the economic production quantity, that is 2000 units. Then we calculate the inventory, then using the Q and inventory we get the total cost. So the minimum quantity we need to produce is 2000 units, and that gives the total minimum minimum cost as 14,400. So for the given demand, for the given data, for the available resources, the minimum production quantity we need to produce is 2000 unit, and it will cost you minimum. So this is the exercises we do normally to calculate the total minimum quantity and cost, and you can decide among various options. You can decide if you have several options of production, you can calculate the total cost of each option, then you can compare which option will cost you less. So here if you want to get the reorder point, in this case that is nothing but D multiplied by L, that is your lead time and the demand. Then if you have safety stock, you can simply add that safety stock with this reorder point. So here if you need to keep the safety stock, 575 is the units, while if you don't want to use safety stock, simply R is D multiplied by L, that is 375 units. So if you are in the beginning, if you have 1000, 2000, 8000, 10,000, whatever quantity you have in your mind, you have with you, once you produce, once that product number of product goes down to 375, you need to start producing the second lot. Last approach of this economic analysis is break-even analysis, which is basically the graphical approach. You can see by the diagram that graphically it gives you idea of economic analysis of several options. You can decide upon that which option you should go for. So it is nothing but same as the previous analysis, but only difference is graphically you can show which option is better. So here we have losses in the left side, we have profit in the right side, and the economic the quantity is shown by Q. So if you produce number of product less than the quantity shown by Q, you will be in loss. And if you produce more than this Q, if you have more than this Q product, this will give you profit as shown in the green area on the right side. So what this break-even analysis do? It computes quantity of goods that must be sold to break even. So if you sell number of products less than Q, you will be in loss. If you sell more than Q, it will make a profit for you. It computes total revenue at an assumed selling price, and it computes fixed cost and variable cost for several quantities. So you compare, you have fixed cost, that is the straight line, horizontal line, then you have the variable cost, that is and the total revenue is the combination of this. Then it plots the total revenue line and total cost line, and the intersection of these line is the break even. So this is the break even quantity you need to have, or you need to sell to get the profit. Then we can do sensitive analysis also, that can be done to examine changes in all of the assumptions made. So using sensitive analysis, you can change certain parameters and you can see and the effect on the final outcome. So that can help you to decide on variation in your plan. So this was all about economic analysis. So this is the end of this lecture. In this lecture we covered topics planning horizons, product exploring, product and service difference, and different approaches used to decide on making or buying a product. So this was the first unit of this subject, and this is the basically based on the syllabus of design, planning and control production system, and that is third year subject. And so it is not like a common topic or the universal topic. Basically this lecture is for that particular subject, and it covers only those topics which are in the syllabus. So according to syllabus, we are trying to develop lectures that will help students to get maximum benefit out of these lectures. And again I'm requesting all the students to follow the reference books, to refer the standard books, to see more details on this. So we have just shown a few examples, 2 examples at least. So that is not sufficient. Attending these lectures and getting lecture notes is just giving you an idea. For more detail, you should always refer the standard books which I have shown in the beginning of this lecture. Thank you everyone.